Hi, I'm Mike Harrington, and in 2014, I embarked on a health journey resulting in my losing over 200 pounds on my own. Since then, I've been sharing my story and have become an advocate for healthy living. Welcome to Mike Inspires Me, a podcast show about health, wellness, and amazing people to inspire you to take charge of your life and your health. For those of you who follow me, especially those who follow my hiking adventures, aka Hike with Mike, it's no secret that I enjoy hiking and walking. It's become so much so of a regular activity for me. It's kind of one of those things that's a non-negotiable when it comes to my day. I always try to make sure to have some sort of activity that involves some sort of walking or hiking so that I can regularly maintain my physical and, more importantly, my mental and spiritual well-being. Several years ago, I had written an article on LinkedIn, loosely what this is based on, called Walk Away Your Troubles If You Can. And it's a play on the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler, where he says, walk away from trouble if you can, or when you can. And the reason I said that, maybe if it's not so obvious, is that a lot of times we struggle with our problems, we sit and we wrestle with them. But I find for myself, when I literally take a walk, like not just like figuratively walk away from the problems, but literally take a walk, my mood improves. We can break apart the physiological things that are going on in the body. It may not seem obvious right away, but I can tell you through my own personal experience, it's real, and it's something that I've come to greatly appreciate in more ways than you can ever imagine. Hiking's become a passion for me, and not because I'm obsessed, not because it puts me in great shape. So, it really has become my body, mind, and spirit experience. And you hear me talk about this often. Well, back when I was looking up this article and doing some research on the health benefits of walking, there were many articles out there supporting it. And let's face it, one of the big pluses for walking is that it's a very simple, low impact activity that just about anybody can do. You don't need really any special equipment other than a decent pair of shoes and decent enough weather to get outside, and you just go. And I think in that simplicity, that's what makes it such a great exercise for just about everyone. And majority of us can do it. And if you saw my brother a few weeks ago on Facebook and my social media, I had posted some pictures of him out hiking with me, which was a highly unusual activity for him. But what I want to mention afterwards is some of the things we talked about, because my brother had a lot of physical, and still did at that moment, physical limitations. He had lost a bit of weight through changing some of his habits, and he had lost enough so that he felt confident to do this hike. And it was a moderate, for a beginner, it was a pretty decent hike, especially somebody, whose body was as beat up as his is. But the one thing that stuck with me, and it was the next day we were kind of chatting a little bit through text, is how he told me he felt. And the way he described it was exactly what I've experienced myself. I didn't push it on him. I don't even know how much we ever talked about it. But it was that feeling like I went out into nature. I went out to do something that I felt like I accomplished something, and I don't know. It's almost like you're getting rid of those troubles. And I'm not remembering his exact words, but he basically said to me that he was feeling really good afterwards, and it was a short, less than 2 hour period, but it was enough so that it left him to this, even a few weeks later, we're still been talking about it a little bit. I had come across some articles back during my research for the LinkedIn article about Scottish doctors were starting to issue prescriptions for people to go out hiking. And of course, that really caught my attention because first and foremost, that's lifestyle medicine right off the bat. I'm like, wow, let's treat the issue with a lifestyle intervention. And the interesting thing is, you read the article, they're talking about some chronic health issues, and a lot of them could be, obesity and physical, heart conditions, those type of things. One of the things they did bring up was conditions like depression, anxiety, and those type of conditions where it may not seem obvious right away that something like walking and hiking could be beneficial, or maybe it is, I don't know. But it's enough so that the doctors felt strong enough to use it as a prescription in the treatment. And I was just really pleased to see that, because instead of throwing pills at them, heck, even sitting through hours of therapy, not to say that those things don't have their place, because they certainly do, they're trying a different approach. And really, that's what I'm all about. That's what my Hike with Mike platform is about. That's what I'm really trying to promote, is to try to get you to think a little differently about your health. And it really comes down to, as I've mentioned in some previous podcasts, to your self-care routine. And more, I'm starting to see studies come up about the benefits of exposure to nature. And they are seeing now that the nature sounds, the nature exposure in the colors and the just being immersed in amongst the trees and the animals and all the things that are out there, that there is a definite body, mind, and spirit positive effect. And you think about it, because we are creatures of nature. We have learned to separate ourselves from our environment, what was once a natural environment we lived in. We live in these houses now, much separated from what we call the woods, right? But it's weird. I've been hiking now consistently for the past 7 years, but on and off most of my life. And in fact, I grew up in rural Eastern Connecticut, all the time in the woods. And there's this feeling now, after all these years, when I go there, it's like, it's going to sound strange, but it's like being home. It's like being in a place where I can just relax and be myself. I can just take off my heavy coat, kick my feet up, although I'm out there walking, and just breathe the fresh air, listen to the wind rustle through the trees, listen to the squirrels scurry by, see a deer like I did today in my nature walk, see a deer out in the woods. And it just feels right. And it puts your well-being in a place where you start to appreciate the simpler things. I mean, okay, we like nice vacations, and a lot of us do, right? We like going on cruises and staying at resorts and going to Disneyland or whatever, right? But sometimes right within our own backyard is an oasis, is a special little place, a special little hideaway, getaway, a mini vacation. And the funny thing is, I've been saying this to my wife the weekends when we haven't been going camping lately. I've been saying that my weekends are like a mini vacation because I go off in the woods and I just get away from it all and I escape, body, mind, and spirit. You're going to hear me doing a little clicking here. I've got several windows open with some notes, but one of the things, and I'm reading this right here, it's from I can't see which university this is, but there's a university study here. I'll try to get it in a second. How does nature impact our well-being? This is from, University of Minnesota. And they're talking about exposure to nature not only makes you feel better emotionally, it contributes to your physical well-being, reducing blood pressure, heart rate, muscle tension, and the production of stress hormones. It even reduces mortality, according to scientists such as public health researchers. And they're naming off the folks who did it. So I didn't fully appreciate it back during the time when my wife and I first started walking, just how beneficial it was. And like I said, and I've said many times, when Terry and I first started walking, I found it boring. And I guess that really depends on what your definition of boring is, because now I've learned to appreciate the power of simplicity. Because I even just take walks. A lot of times I'll listen to either a little music or a podcast while I'm out walking. If I'm walking on the street, and if I'm in nature, I don't wear any headset at all. But two different experiences, similar effects. But I will tell you that with the woods, there definitely is this sort of therapeutic effect that I'm seeing. I could feel it in my blood pressure, and you could feel it when you're tense. You can feel it, and it's like it says here. I'm reading also of this article here from the University of Minnesota. It says the stress of an unpleasant environment can cause you to feel anxious or sad or helpless. This in turn elevates. To talk about the blood pressure and heart rate and muscle tension. Suppresses your immune system. Okay, a pleasing environment reverses that. So taking a walk in nature can help reverse some of the negative effects of our day-to-day hustle and bustle, rush, information overload, stressful environments that we're exposed to. This is not to say that if you're in a situation where it's unhealthy to you to be in that environment, that you shouldn't do something to change it. But sometimes there's not much we can do. And we're in situations where we can't always change it. If you've got a job and you need to pay the bills, and right now that's where you got to stay and you got to deal with stress, even stress that you think you can tolerate still has an impact on you. Okay. And in order to counteract and reverse those things, you need to take on a routine of self-care. And walking is by far one of the simplest, easiest ways to help. You got a busy day? As I wrote in my article, take a walking meeting. And the funny thing is, it was a couple months ago, I was sitting in a group at work, and there was a woman. We were talking about, we were doing a step challenge, and I had a lot of steps, because I do a lot of walking. And this woman was like trying to figure out how I was getting all these steps in. And I remember this other coworker knew about my walking during lunch and during meetings. and mentioned it to her. Says, "Oh yeah, he'll even take a walk during meetings," which I have done. I don't do it often because a lot of times my meetings of late um, aren't conducive to that. But there are times if I'm in that type of meeting where it's easily able for me to, if I don't have to see video, for example, then it's fine for me to take a walk and listen and get that in and enjoy the benefits of the physical and mental health effects of it. Certainly, I do promote mindfulness also while you're walking, and what that means is being there. Now, if you're on a phone call, you're not necessarily there mentally, but that's okay. It still doesn't mean you're not enjoying some of the benefits. But the whole point is there's many different ways you can get it. Even just a 10-minute walk can have very beneficial effects on your overall health. And again, as I've stressed, it doesn't have to be anything over the top. Again, make sure your footwear and your clothing and everything are comfortable so that you won't feel discouraged when you do it. And if you're feeling bored during the walk, find something to help you enjoy, or maybe try to look at being mindful is about being present in your moment. So maybe take some breaths and concentrate. It doesn't mean you have to do anything particularly complicated, but it's just more about focusing on the moment and maybe focusing on your breath, focusing on what you're hearing. If you're walking in the street, maybe you hear the cars going by, so focus on that, or you hear the dog barking, or you hear the wind rustling through leaves. And then if you're out in nature too, you've got that same type of thing. If you're walking in the woods, you can hear the crunch of the leaves as you're walking, or you can listen to the stream as you're going by, but be there. I mean, that's part of the whole experience when you're out walking, so that you can absorb all of that. And the funny thing is, you probably would never think that, you could have a healing effect by sound, but you can. I mean, let's face it, we can hear harsh sounds, yelling, screaming, crying, whatever, and that can make us physically and mentally tense. Well, those things have a physiological effect on your body. And the prolonged exposure, even at a low level, let's just say the stress you're dealing with is low level but tolerable, but it's constant. It's still going to wear you out. It's still going to, you can only take so much before you need to recharge and take a moment to be able to heal from those effects. Now, I had been really trying to understand as we age, what are some of the other benefits from a brain health and from a bone health and from a physical health benefit. And besides the fact that it helps your risk of heart disease and your blood pressure, it helps boost bone density, since walking is a weight-bearing exercise. I'm reading this off of WebMD. It also builds strength in your glutes and your quadriceps, hamstrings, and muscles in your hips, which are often a problem area for older folks, folks as we get older. Strengthens your core and improves balance. But they're also starting to find that increased blood flow and the increased positive hormonal effects that are going on in your body do have an effect. Now, I'm not saying it's going to cure dementia, but it may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia because of the fact that you're taking care of your body and you're, doing things, that are reducing a lot of these chronic diseases that we bring on ourselves. These are lifestyle related diseases. We were made to walk. You think of our ancestors, you think of people who live in more less developed countries. People walk and they ride bicycles, but they're out moving and using the feet and the arms and moving. And that is where we have come in our society, where we don't need to do that anymore. Now it's become a fad. Walking is a fad and hiking is but it used to be something we did all the time. It used to be almost the only way many people got by, unless you could afford to move. Now, just about anybody's either on a car or public transportation, and they're not doing as much walking. You're seeing more people do it. And I have nothing against running. Okay. Running is a good activity, but I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of like Jerry Seinfeld said, I choose not to run. But for me, it's more about the impact. What I like about walking, what I like about hiking is lower impact. It's less stress on my knees and my joints and my back. But to sum it all up and to really package this in a way that helps you kind of think about, why walking as opposed to any other type of activity is when you think about all the other things you have to do, whether it's or other activities, you're always, so long as you're able, going to need to walk. Now, it's great to do push-ups and sit-ups and all those things. Those are good for you. I appreciate the benefits, and you'll appreciate the benefits to your body. But so long as you're alive, you're going to need to be able to walk. And how do you want that to feel and to be? You think about, I made a friend a couple of years ago. She's a famous world oldest bodybuilder, Ernestine Shepherd. And I follow some of her Instagram posts, and she's well now in her mid 80s. And, besides being a professional bodybuilder, she is an avid walker, and she walks, I'm not kidding you, so a lot of times 10 miles in a day, sometimes more. And that's a lot. And it's wonderful. I'm impressed that she does that. But you look at what it does, a woman at her age, she's older than my mother, and, she's out there walking, and keeps moving because, at the end of the day, how do you want to spend the rest of your life? And if you don't take action, if you don't take care of those things that are troubling you, you don't walk away from your troubles, they may be starting to creep up on you someday. So why don't you get out there today? If you've got a few minutes, take a little walk, enjoy the fresh air. And if you're nearby nature, just take a little walk into the woods. See how you feel. Think about this crazy hike with Mike. When I'm out there doing my thing, talking about all kinds of things on my mind, and think about what it might do for you. I wouldn't be sharing these things with you if I didn't think they were useful. And I hope you do find them useful. But I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any experiences you'd like to share, you can reach me at mike@mikeinspiresme.com. And I hope you're doing well. Get out there and do something for yourself. Walk away from your troubles and stay awesome. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mike Inspires Me podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes and check out some of the past ones you may have missed. For more information on me and my story, go to mikeinspiresme.com. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Mike Harrington Official and on Twitter at Mike Inspires Me. Stay healthy and stay awesome.